Yay, okay, let's start. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here and thank you, Eileen, for coming. Our speaker today is Miss Eileen Khor. She is Head of Creative Innovation at ADA, right? And she's going to talk to us a little bit today about technology in
Hi
the
guys.
telco, data analytics, AI, and creative automation. That's her specialty. So I'll let her introduce herself fully. Over to you, Eileen.
Thank you, Miss Chu. Thank you, or I usually call you in Y. But so a little bit intro about myself. I started my career in TV and digital branded content. Right, I work with Astro, and then after about a year plus, I've decided that my calling is always in the agency side. So hence, I went on and joined a very small digital company. It's small, but it's not 4As or anything. But what I'm seriously grateful was I had the opportunity to work with a lot of global brands, and I get to play multiple roles, from not just being a designer. I started off as a designer, but I slowly progressed on. I delved into many different parts of the advertising business where I was a social content manager, I was doing community management, I was doing project management, client servicing and all that. And I think that has sort of gave me a very good experience into understanding the whole concept of how a advertising or a digital agency is the performing or work. And then that's how I got my job in my current place, which is ADA. I was the first hire actually, because the agency was doing a transformation, right? So from a media agency, they wanted to transform into a full-fledged digital agency. Hence, I joined and I kickstart the whole creative business. And now I've moved on to a new role. As you can see, it's a creative innovation department. I think it's new in the whole advertising business is because, in fact, it's not just all about creative. It's all about what kind of tech that we can leverage on to help build that creative campaign to be more insightful, right? In a advertising industry. So I'm having problem adjusting my slides. Hold on. So today, what we're going to discuss is I'm going to talk to you about data and audience. What are the current agency models? What are the tech platforms that you can leverage on? I'm going to show you a sample of the platforms that you can see or you can learn from. Maybe after this, you can sign up for your free own account and try it out by yourself. What kind of audience insights? What kind of data that can help you to derive some audience insights? The breakout room, it will be depending on whether we have time or not. Then we'll talk about creative automation. This is something that I am championing in my current agency. Talk about what are the marketing challenges, what is it all about, how do you use it, and also how AI can come into play in the advertising industry. Okay, so moved on to the next one is what is the current landscape in this marketing or advertising industry is like, for example, traditionally, or I would say 5 to 10 years back, right? For a client, if they want to understand a bit more about their brand or the products that they want to launch, if it's something new to the market, what they will do is the first thing they will go to a research agency, right? So, hey, can you help me to do a brand survey or product survey? Or can you help me to gather more data into what are the people, what people would like to see, what do they know about my brand? They will go to this research agency to do brand consultancy or to facilitate a workshop to help them understand a little bit more of their the consumers' behaviors, right? Then after getting all these reports from this research agency, they will then use those reports and prepare a brief to be shared with their creative agency. That is when they say, hey, creative agency, can you help me to do the branding, the thematic campaigns, the creative, the branding, the pre-nets, radio ads, everything, right? And what is online, what is offline. So basically creative agencies like typically the previous ones like the Leo Burnett or Ogilvy, they used to be very heavy in terms of anything that is above the line, right? So those you can see on TVs, billboards, and newspaper ads and all that. So that is where the creative agency comes into play. Then when it comes to all this big ideation, that is when they will bring this whole big ideation of the idea to the digital agency and say, hey, this is the what we're gonna do. This is the campaign that we're gonna launch next month, And as a digital agency, can you prepare your digital strategy, your social media content strategy, how you're going to develop, how you're going to manage the community, how you're going to have a digital campaign, how you're going to launch it online to leverage on what we are doing on offline, right? So then from a digital agency, you move on to a media agency to then come up with a media strategy in terms of what are platforms, what are the publishers that you want to use, what is the SEOs or the keywords that we want to buy in, and how do we create awareness and ensuring that, you know, we move the audience from the funnels from awareness to the acquisition stage, right? So this is typically how a traditional agency works. Okay, so where we are right now in the whole setup is that now clients no longer want to go through so many different agencies, you know, because sometimes when you brief and all that, and especially with the whole COVID situation now, a lot of their marketing budgets are now being transferred to the whole online space, right? So a lot of investments are there, and typically they will come to agency and say that, hey, I want you to do everything for me now, from the data collection in terms of the business insights down to the brand strategy, content strategy, or even the creative ideation, right? Managing what the digital agency is typically used to do. And also you'll be doing the media execution in terms of what's the strategy, where do you think we should be in, how do we optimize our media performance, or who are the audience, how do we then leverage on e-commerce, because we saw the rise of e-commerce throughout the whole COVID situation, right? And then how do we do that with the reporting? So typically this is how the tech or the agency is being set up. From previously, you have so many agencies to do one particular campaign. Now they will just come to one agency to do it. So where the tech comes into play is that is here. So from a data to a brand, I think most of you, since you are from a mass communication background, most likely you will end up doing a lot on this brand strategy, content strategy, and the creative ideation, right? Where you are mainly copywriters, account managers, or even a creative person, right? So you end up mainly in this middle. So what you need is also to leverage on the tools that are available to help you to expand your skill sets, right? Not just look into what you need to do, but also to have a little bit more agile and to have a little bit more experience in terms of understanding what is this business insights, or what is this data and the tools that are available to help you to do your daily chores for a daily task list for your clients. So tools that are integrated into this data and your brand and content strategy and ideation is something like social listening, social and video analytics, trends, you do a trends research as well. And then you have a web analytics as well to understand the performance or the consumers' behaviors when they land onto the website. Yeah. So then you also have the, when it comes to brand, you also need to look into you also have to see how your content, or how do you expand your content and your creative ideas into driving some media performance as well. So gone were days when you have to just do one role, but now in this whole digital agency setup, you actually have to see how you can leverage your ideas to see across certain platforms or certain matrix that clients will require. Basically is to see from an end to end of the whole deliverables to your clients. So when it comes to media, of course, you can leverage on AI, creative automation, and also dynamic creative optimization. So I will share about all this later on. Yeah. So now let's just focus on business, how the business insights, how a digital insights or data you can gather from all these tools that can help you to do your content or your brand strategy. Okay. Any questions so far? Don't be shy. You can just unmute yourself. Ask me questions. No? All good? Okay. So let's look at social listening. So what is social listening? Social listening is basically, inputting keywords of the brands, the products into the platform to help the clients to listen and track in terms of where are their brand mentions, so you can identify related keywords and topics, and where are these conversations happening. what is their share of voice in terms of the content that they created versus the one that they earned, you know, to monitor their PR efforts and to track some issues. If there is any PR crisis, for example, you can use these social listening tools to identify where are all the buzzes or the noises are coming from, and also to see what are the trending conversations that are happening. Okay, so let's look at this listen and track portion where you talk about brand mentions, right? So now I'm going to switch over to my Chrome. Let me see if you can see my Chrome screen. Yes, can?
Yep, can see.
Yeah. Okay, so now you can see this is a sample of a social listening tool, right? That I use here in ADA. Yeah, it's called the Talk Walker. There are many other tools out there. There's like there's Meltwaters, you know, and there's a few more. I can't. There's Intesio and all that, to name a few. And one of the key tools that I use here in ADA is actually using Talk Walker. So what you can do is, what I did was I set up the brands. For example, if I were to look at oil and gas category, we have Petronas, Shell, Petron, Caltex, and BHP, right? I've set up all these key topics, the brand names, and also the keywords. For example, like the field name, yeah, the mentions of the field, Minyak, or RON 95, 97, it's all already pre-built, right? And you can see these are the results that I gathered, like over the past 30 days. These are the buzzes that are going on in the digital space. So you can see from a brand perspective, you can do an analysis of who are dominating or who have the most share of voice when it comes to the brands, right? Who is top or who is leading. Then you want to say, want to see where is it performing in terms of the media types. Then that's when you switch over to the media types, and you can see where are the for each of the respective for the category itself, where is this share of the media type. So you can see for oil and gas, everyone is very active or on Facebook. You can see it takes up 50% of the pie, and then when it comes to Twitter, it's second, you know, and all that. So if you want to focus on just one particular brand, for example, I am Petronas. My close competitors would be Shell, right? So I just want to see what's happening in Shell, like what are their investment or what have they done, you know, in the digital space. So you can see Shell, the performance, the channels. You can see the mentions for the brands. They're actually very heavy on Twitter. So if I'm Petronas, I am spending a lot of effort in, let's say, okay, you can see it's Facebook, right? So how do I steal some shares from Shell? Or what is Shell doing that's different from my brand? So you can switch over to Shell, look into where Shell is performing. If it's on Twitter, then can you look into what's happening on Twitter? You can see the spikes here. You can click into it, and then it will tell you what had garnered some of the conversations or what the brands has been doing that has contributed into the spikes of the mentions, you know, of a brand mentions in the particular time. So you can see here a lot of it links to bonus link. So I think it's all the 4X campaign that they have launched. So if I'm a Petronas, would I want to counter that with a campaign that can help me to steal some shares from Shell? Yeah. So it's something that a brand can look at, or maybe something that from a creative campaign perspective, that is something that you can work on. So you can see, you can identify the keywords and topics as well. So keywords and topics, you can go on to, let's say, I would switch over to here, the themes here. It's where you can get insights of all the keywords that are relevant to Shell in particular. So if I want to see everything for the category, I can just choose all the brands. Then I can say, hey, this is a snapshot of the category. These are the keywords or the hashtags that the brand or the category insights. So you can see if I were to do a comparison, Petronas and all that is here. And I can even look into just hashtag. If I want to start a campaign, I want to see how my brand's performing. I can see if the hashtag is relevant. Okay, as you can see, extras adapt Harry is very high, and whose hashtag is it belongs to. So you can also click on it, and then you can see how is it performing and which brand is it relevant, is it tied to. Okay, then you can take a snapshot of all these sentiments and all Okay. So you can monitor your PR. So if let's say, for example, Shell has created that bonus link campaign, right? They can monitor their efforts. Then they can do an issue tracking. If let's say suddenly there's someone was spotted in Petronas with the pink wristbands, right? You want to track what was conversations all about. You can do that as well. Then you can look at what are the trending conversations based on the graphs earlier, right? You can look into that. So you can able to help the brand to analyze the competitors, to do some social sentiments. So social sentiments is where we can see in terms of, let's say I were to look into these sentiments, breakdowns of the topics. Then you can see how are the brands performing, if they have more positive or negative. So usually brands would like to know, for example, if I'm Petronas, I want to know what am I doing right that is garnering a lot of positive sentiments. Then I can look into the results or some of the conversations that are happening that is positive, right? So a lot of the motorsports garners a lot of positive interactions. So what has garnered the negative interactions or the sentiments from the netizens? So we can look into the conversations that are happening and all that, and do an analysis behind it. So it will no longer be just plugging an idea out of nowhere, but you will have to look into all this data to help you to build that brand story or that brand propositions that you want to build for your client. So you need to do all this analysis. Is it compared with their competitors, looking into the social sentiments, what are the brand and the product issues that you have, and also like, for example, like a consumer journey as well. So what you can do is, for example, if let's say I were to look into this Petronas again, right? Let's go on to this. So here is a snapshot of this category, right? Like these are the results that I'm seeing. So if I were Petronas, I also want to see what kind of products are people talking about, right? So for example, I can further filter it to the type of fuel. Is it raw 97 or 95 that people are talking more about the brands? So I can toggle it, or to even filter it, or to do some analysis of what the conversations is all about, right? So I can select to this filter, and then you can see people are actually talking more about raw 95 versus raw 97 versus 95, right? So is this similar across all the brands? If I want to do just let's say Petronas, how is it comparing? Because Petronas just launched a new fuel, right? So you can see, which is 97. So you can see a lot of the conversations are on 97. So it makes sense, like they are dominating the 97 more than the 95. So if I were to go to Shell, how does it fare? Like what type of conversation? And you can see it's 95. It's more. It's also because their campaign is Shell Fuel 95, right? As you can see here. Hence, they have more conversations on the raw 95 initiatives. So this is one thing that that the client or as an agency you can leverage on with all this data to help you to see how can you help to build a more robust brand analysis, and how do you also identify when it comes to key issues, how do you identify what are their consumer challenges, what are their topics of conversations, or what do they require, or what do they want when it comes to the product. So you're able to do also social channel analytics, which will come to the social channel analytics portion. So in channel analytics is where you look at channel performance. Okay. So here, for example, let me go to Petronas. Do I have Petronas here? Okay, here. So here you will look into how Petronas social channels are performing. So this is over 7 days, switch it to 30 days. And then you can see how many activities or how many posts or comments that they have done, what are their audience activity, and these are all their content appreciation, right? Like how it fares over time. And then you can look at the performance for the brand itself. Let's switch audience activity. Okay, so you can also look at audience activity peak hours as well. So I can also do a comparative analysis. I can also select 2 of the brands, and I can do an analysis of how is it versus the 2 brands. Yeah. Okay. Any question?
Oh, sorry. When you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned about the RON 95 and RON 97, are those the topics that are discussed by the audience, or like the campaign and strategy from both of Petronas and Shell?
Okay, let me go back to the tools. Yeah, good question actually. So let me go to topic analytics. So I've already looked into the type of field, correct? So these are the results that I've got. Like if I were to just zoom in into one brand, I can do that as well. Let's zoom into one brand. Yeah. So Petronas have 31 results from the past 30 days, and there's a split. Sometimes it can be from the brand itself, and sometimes it can be from the conversations from net citizens. So how I can also further filter it, right? So now I say, okay, brands are focusing because they have this Petronas Premix Pro Race campaign going on. So by right, that would have contributed to these high conversations on RON 97, right? So if I want to look at what are the earned media in terms of what are the other people talking besides the brand, you can also toggle, or you can even set up this to further filter, to analyze on what are people talking about the brand. So you can see we have all this, we have online people talking about it. Let me maybe switch it to 3 months so you can see for the splits. Yeah, so these are conversations that are happening that is not related or not created by the brand itself. So then you can say when people talking about it, what do they talk about? Or I want to further filter, to channels like, for example, Twitter. I can also do that so that I can see what are the topics or the conversations people are talking about. Okay.
Oh, I see.
So not just the type of field, right? So for example, let me clear this out. Okay, let me do it 30 days again, right? So let me do a 3 months conversation. So for Petronas, I say that I want what my clients really like to see was that when people talk about them, what do they talk about, right? Very important. We want to know. So I think you are curious about that. So what you can do also, I have also built topics or filters to pull in keywords, like something to do with speed, engine, powerful efficiency, and driving experience. So when they talk about fuel, or when they talk about Petronas, what else do they link at? What kind of requirement, the performance matrix that they want to see when it comes to the type of fuel that they choose to use or to talk about, right? So you can further filter it. It will further filter the keywords again. So you can see these are some from the brands. I can further filter it down to just audience post. Now I switch it to filters. Then you can see when people talk about fuel, they talk about speed and acceleration. Then only down to the driving experience, and then the engine efficiency protection, and also the efficiency of it, right? So if you want to know more about what did they talk about when it comes to speed, then these are all the keywords that are related. For example, speed, is in the motor race and all that, in the racing kind of category. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's very interesting because at the end of the day, when you use this, you also need to have you are right. For the questions, I think it's a very good question because you need to have a hypothesis, right? You want to build a hypothesis in terms of what you want to find out, and this is how you can use all those tools to leverage to help you build a better data, for a better storytelling into how we can leverage on these tools to help you build a better brand credibility.
So to a very large extent, basically search engine optimization and this brand performance, content performance, and audience insight have a lot of things in common, because I use something called Zoho Social to monitor some pages as well, and they are similar processes. So do they overlap in algorithms as well?
They don't overlap. Search is search, right? Search is based on, it will tell you what are people searching for, right? But when it comes to social listening and social analytics, is what are the content? You're analyzing it from a content perspective. Search is more of what people are searching for.
But doesn't the content need the search,
Correct.
the keywords
Correct.
and all of that as well?
Correct. You will, okay, so there's a few key parts to this, right? So for example, if I were to track a brand, right, I would know how my brand is performing and what my content are performing and what kind of content people are curating, right? So that comes from your listening and social analysis of your channel performance, right? So then you also want to know what are people searching, hence why my next section is actually focusing on the trends research. You need to understand also what are people researching, then you can only build a robust content strategy, right? Not just saying that, oh, what are people doing, but you also want to be ahead of the time based on the speed of the based on the culturally, what are people searching for. So for example, now in this whole COVID situation, everyone is talking about COVID vaccine, right? So it's something that is relevant, like people are searching. So as a brand, do you want to create a content that is relevant to COVID or to the vaccine? So, you know, you can look into all these tools and insights to help you to do that. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Yeah, so social listening, social analytics is to analyze what is already out there, right? So you can look into trends to see what kind of content that are trending right now, and then what the brand can do to curate those content. Let me know if you sorry, I didn't get your name earlier. I think let me know if you use this Google Trends to search for trends, right?
Yeah.
So
Trends, yeah. That's
yeah,
exactly
so it's very interesting. So of course you can always go by the locations that you want to see, but by default it will select Malaysia for you because I'm logging in from Malaysia. So I can say COVID, for example. I can look into this and I can see the interest over time. Like, is it past 12 months? If I want to zoom in the past 7 days, I can do that as well. So you don't just look into the search terms, but you also can look into the related topics as well. I do not know why the dates are also some parts of the related topics, but what you can do is you can click on it and then you can further look into what happened in the particular day, or what are the related queries and topics that are relevant to that the dates that are here in this particular keyword search. Okay, so then again, let's say for example, I'm Petronas, right? I would want to then say I want to do a comparison between Petronas and Shell. I can do that as well. I can add a few more if I want to. Petron. Okay, so you can see what are the averagely where is it and what happens for each of the particular brand. Then you can see where is the conversations happening, split for the brand itself, and then what are the related queries. Yeah. Okay, let's see if there's anything interesting. So for Petronas, maybe we see something that is top. So for example, near me is something of Petronas Malaysia, or you know, Iklan Petronas. So you know that all this is relevant to help to build a the content, you know, for your clients in one way. So here is to you use trends to give you a little bit insights of the content that you want to build. Okay. So next would be web analytics. So you know that, every time when you build something for your brand, you look into your content. You also look into what your brands are doing. How do you drive traffic from your social channels to your website, right? So you also need to look at how your website are performing when it comes to how consumers behave, right? So you have, of course, all brands should have Google Analytics built into it, but then there are also other tools that are available in the market as well. So an example that we have built was to look into traffics for the online shopping sites. For example, here you can see, we have Shopback, we have Lazada, we have PG Malls, we have Shopee, and we have Taobao. And we look into the traffics that is coming in, like in the Malaysia IP address, right? How does it perform? Like currently, you can see these are the search traffic and engagement. What kind of volumes that they are getting. Definitely Shopee is the highest in the moment. So you can see what are their traffic shares, what are their visits now compared to their competitors, what are their change compared to last month, and how much time people actually spend onto their website. So you can see, right, although Shopee has a lot more people actually spending like about 10 minutes roughly on the website, while Taobao actually people spend 1 minute more, right? So how many page do they visit on a particular basis? So this gives you an insights a bit of like audience behavior, like averagely on a daily basis, how much time do they spend on and how many page do they visit? Yeah, and all these bounce rates lah. So what are the keywords that they use, or what are the opportunities that they may want to tap into, right? So if I want to look at, for example, Shopee, Razor, a lot of it is on Shopee and Lazada. Okay, so these are some of the keywords that or the research that you can do to help you identify a brand, to help you build a brand story or brand proposition into where do you stand for versus your competitors, what are people talking about you, how do you identify what our audience are searching for, what are their challenges, what kind of things that they talk about when they talk about your product or your category, and then you can look into their behaviors in terms of how much time they spend on your particular website to learn more about your brands. So all in all, with all these data points from different types of tools and platforms, you are able to, in a way, analyze those and sort of predict, like, at one point of their life stages, do they need your brand? What are their offline and online behavior? What are the kinds of apps do they use, or what are their behaviors on your website? If they were to land on your page, what other products would they search on as well, or how long do they spend on your website? You can also look in search trends, like for example, I showed earlier when just COVID or just Petron, what do they talk about? What are the content that are relevant to the target audience, whether is it your followers and the content that people are curating about your brand? What are the social platforms? Where are we seeing the noises coming from, or where are Malaysians at? Whether is it for engagement purposes, where do they engage, or where do they get more info from, right? What are the different types of social platforms are they on? So with this knowledge, you will then say that, okay, I may want to do an awareness campaign, like I want to just talk about my brand, and everyone is on TikTok, right? All the age group in 18 to 24 is on TikTok. So I may also, if they are my target audience and they are now heavily on TikTok, I may want to plan my social strategy to leverage on the platform TikTok to help me to build my brand awareness, right? So then when it comes to purchasing journey, where do we start, or like how do we ensure that the brand is constantly relevant to each of the purchasing journey, from being awareness to consideration or even to conversion, right? So an example, for example, if I want to sell Pampers today, who should we sell diapers to? Anyone?
The babies.
Sell it to the babies? Why?
The parents.
The mothers. It's moms. It's moms.
Yeah, right. Mom is the one who is going to clean, unless dad is the one who's taking care of the baby and changing the diapers. But it's mom who will be buying it, right? Correct. Who will be researching on it. So yeah, is the parents also. But let's say we look at moms as the key purchaser, right? So you can say, okay, there's mother, but with data, you can actually zoom, the different multiple touch points that I talked earlier. We now no longer look at moms as mothers, or moms who have a full-time job as a mother. But now we in where we are looking at, we can look at moms who are also working mom, who spend a lot of their hours, or who have working apps on your phone, not just not just some child apps. They also have like Teams, they have Zoom, they have PowerPoint, they have Outlook, that are all working moms, and we all know that, right? So then they have fashionista mom who spend a lot of the time on Zalora, for example. That would probably categorize them as a fashionista mom, or artsy mom who have Etsy on their page, or who are who have some crafts, who watch crafts videos online. Or you have super mom who are always searching for things to do, or always on multiple things, right? You can see they have working apps, they have fashionista app, they have craft app, they have organization apps and all that. So that can be, you can categorize them as a super mom, or fitness mom who have fitness app, or moms who are expecting, right? So you can look into those audience demographics, or even a first-time mom, because they'll be probably searching certain keywords like how-tos, or things I need to know as a first-time mom, those kind of keywords. And you also have cloth diaper mom, right? Like, how would you sell diapers to a cloth diaper mom, right? So you have to see, like, you no longer, if I were to sell Pampers, I can no longer just say, hey, babies need diapers, but I need to I need to create specific message that are then relevant, in order for me to sell to each of these different types of personas, or different types of moms personas there is. Okay, so, and then of course, as Pampers, I will have different range of products as well. I have the pants, I have the ones for newborns, I have the one for toddlers and all that. So when you look into personas, you will no longer just be selling one product or one brand, but you want to be able to push one particular product to a mom, right? So by right, we should have a breakout room, but I don't think we have the time for it. So you can do this as part of assignment, or later on, was to look into who is this persona, like identify one type of persona, right? Identify their demographics, like for example, working mom, right? They would probably age between 24 to 35 or 38, for example, right? What are their occupations? Then what are the digital behaviors they are most likely on? Let's say Instagram, they spend a lot of time on forums, or they are like go-getters, all that. So you have to identify who are they, and then you have to understand what do they do, what are their current daily challenges, right? So for example, a working mom will want everything to be very fast-paced, because they have to juggle between work and parenthood, right? So what are the daily challenges? They want something that is fast, that can help them to clean up, or they don't have to wash cloth diapers and all that. So what are their needs? What are their goals in their life? As a parent and as a career working woman, what do they want out of their life? You need to know all this, and what influence their purchasing behavior. When you know all this, who and what of these personas that you are targeting, you will then be able to come up with a idea or creative idea that can help you to build the emotional connection that is relevant to these personas, like what would be helpful to them, and how your brand can be relevant. So then you look into where are they, right? Where are they? Are they on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Facebook? Are they just on forums? If they spend a lot, if we find that most of them spend a lot of time on forums, then we may also want to create or build a community of forums to be able to then tap into the mom space, in order to create a safe space for them to talk about their challenges and things like that. So you have where do they hang out, right? Do moms have a special cafe that they go to, or some stores like Mother Care? Do they go there often? So you may also want to geofence those locations and to target them a specific content or ads. You can do all that. And which apps do they use? Is there any apps that they use that that is able to speak to them. So a lot of apps have now ads embedded on it. So you may also want to target them with ads on the apps itself, right? So then again on how. So how do you speak to them? What is the tone and manner? How do you sell your products? If I were to sell Pampers for toddlers, how do I speak to them? How do I push it to them? How do I make them advocate, right? So they may be using your product, then how would they recommend your product to their friends or their families or people that they know? How do they advocate, and as a brand, how do you continuously to engage them? Because you want them to continuously upsize when it comes to purchasing the product and the brand. So how do you continuously do that? So the whole breakout point was for you to identify the personas, to work on one persona, identify each of these touch points and the questions that I have asked earlier. Okay, so I think we don't have enough time, so I'm just gonna skip the breakout room. Any questions so far before I move on to the next section?
Just one final thing. In the content part of things, you said that individual posts could be picked up as well, so you could check what hashtags are trending and what words are being used in the description as well. So in that, doesn't that just like if everyone is using this, then who's going to make the trend, and wouldn't that just be anti-productive for the software? Or is it just like, basically what I mean is that, does it pick up every kind of trend, good or bad, just every kind of trend?
Correct. As I said earlier, right, you can pick up the negative sentiments as well as the positive sentiments, right? So you can leverage on positive to help you drive your brand's performance. But the thing is, if you are looking at negative conversations, so then it may be something that you want to address also. So for example, if you suddenly for Pampers, do you see a spike in conversations about baby getting rashes after using the diapers, Pampers diapers, right? So then you may want to create a content to then, talk about that.
Right.
Yeah. So that all the tools allows you to pick up allows you to see where are your brands being mentioned, right? So positive, great. You can continue doing that because you're garnering a lot of positive sentiments. But if the negative, sometimes if you address it earlier, it can be, it can be properly handled before it become a crisis by itself. Okay.
Yep.
So example, if let's say, for example, now if you see a lot of vaccines going on COVID, right? Like pregnant moms or breastfeeding moms shouldn't be taking Adjunct, right? So then you want to create a content that is relevant, like maybe moms are not aware of, that you want to create a short form content talking about why should you take vaccine or why should you wait out and things like that. So it may not be directly relevant to what you're selling, but as a brand, you put your audience first because this is what they want to know. And if they follow your page and you create something that speaks to them, that you care about them, and this is what they need to consider, that they will continuously stay on the page to get that information, right? So it's not just all about selling, but also to build content that continuously engage with them. And it's something that as a person, if I were to, I'm using Pampers, I don't just want to just know about your product, but I also want to know what does your brand stand for. Okay?
Yep. The identity, understood.
Any question? Actually, a good question. Thank you for your questions. Any questions so far?
I'm afraid to publicly tweet about any brand now.
Well, if your account is public, then yes, it will be picked up. But if your tweet is positive, that's actually good. If you are managed to influence quite a big number of people in your channels, you may become the next influencer. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to become an influencer, then go ahead. I think you should do that. Okay. Cool. Now, and you can ask me questions further on as well. So I just moved on. So you talk about brand listening, keywords, monitoring. You talk about the different types of moms. Then I want to talk about the different types of content as well. Anyone knows about this Hero Hub and Hygiene? Okay, let's not read the words yet. Anyone knows? Yes, no? Simple? No? Okay, cool. All right. So Hero Hub and Hygiene is actually a term that was born from Google for their video content. Yeah, but you can also use that for their for social content or for any content that you create for the brand. So a hero campaign can be your thematic campaigns, right? For example, a Raya video. You can see a lot of brands did this over the past two weeks, right? They have one hero video to drive very impactful messages, to build emotional connection to their brand. It's always large scale. You can see it on the TV, you can see it on the billboard, you can see it on the newspaper ads. It's to drive mass brand awareness purposes, right? Then you have the hub content. Hub content is usually your social content, right? Your regular always on content that you put on your social channels that are targeted to your followers. You highlight your brands, you highlight your brand values, you highlight your product, you highlight your services to continuously engage, to build brand love, to develop a theme around it. For example, if Mother's Day was it, you build a theme around Mother's Day. What are the content that you continuously build on? There's a theme around it, right? So you are always constantly pushing this content to your audience, to your followers on your social channels. So that is your hub content. So the next one, or I think a lot of brands are not leveraging on, but I see as a key driver for a brand, is actually the hygiene content. So hygiene content is content that are always present, that answers to questions that people may be searching for. So that is where the search trends research comes into play, right? Like what are the SEOs, what are the keywords that they do? Or for example, I myself, if I were to cook something, I'm not a good cook, right? But I want to cook pizza, for example. I've not tried it. I want to know, how do I cook a pizza? Of course, I will go online and I'll search how to cook a pizza, right? It can be video content, it can be a piece of post, or it can be a blog article. So these type of content is hygiene content or hygienic content for the brand. And then it will, when I search for something, or for an audience search for something, they can relate it to your brand, you see. So as an example, as I said earlier, when it comes to COVID, breastfeeding moms, I would key in a keyword and say, breastfeeding, should I take vaccine? Something like this, I search. And if that content from Pampers appeared on my search results, I click on it, and that is how, as a brand, you have reached out to me who are not probably using, Mami Poco, for example. That's how the content or brands be present to me, to drive that brand visibility. So it can be also educational and informative videos, as it shows me what is it all about, what should I expect out of the vaccine and things like that. So it helps the brand to build brand visibility, to drive certain search results for the brand. So these are the key 3 content that you can build for your for the brands itself, right? So earlier we talked about this social listening, right? Social all the data and how it helps you to build the relevant brand strategy. Now let's look at how what other tech tools or platforms out there that can help you to bridge between a creative ideation in your content to drive a bit of performance, or to help you to scale up and speed up your creative processes. Yeah. So the first one is creative automation. So what is creative automation, or why there's a need for creative automation, is because in currently the market, right, a lot of us are looking for personalized content, right? For example, different mothers have different challenges. We are looking at working moms and stay-at-home mom. They may have their own different challenges, and how they look or what they look for in a product can be very different. So you cannot just sell me one product and say that, hey, that's it. But now you have to personalize it to cater to each of these personas, and at the different consumer journey as well. So for you, it can be it's just for awareness, right? You need to research for your client. So or for me, if I'm an expected mom, I would be looking for to purchase a brand already. So we both of us may be at a different consumer journey as well. So in order, how do you speak to yourself and myself is very different. And then on what platforms are you at? So I may be on my mobile, I may be on iPads all the time, and you may be on your laptop, right? So it has to be very platform agnostic. It has to ride on the trends that are trending right now, and you have to drive relevancy in terms of what I look for in a product, right? So how creative automation come into play is that creative automation is actually a technology, right, that is able to do repetitive actions to produce high volumes of creatives. That means scaling up your creatives. So you don't need to just produce one video. Now with one video, you can have a different call to actions at the end bit or the front bit. Who do you address to? If I were to target these ads to people in Penang, I would want to start off with the word "Hello Penangites," right? Then I would want to end with a message that drive them to the nearest store. So that's the whole bit. Instead of you creating one video, now I personalize it to who I'm targeting to at which location. So you can leverage on creative automation to help you to do that as well. So when we personalize our creative and we leverage on automation tag, it can help us to drive some performance as well, because when you do a specific call to action or address it to the certain audience segments, you know that this is their challenges, this is what they look for, and hence your creative will be more relevant. So it helps you to increase your performance of your creatives. And then of course, you're able, when you scale up your creative, you're able to then refresh the content, right? Based on a different consumer journey. So if I were to be on an awareness stage, this is the content that I will serve to you. So if I were to go to your website and I click on a product page, you will then want to target me with a product video instead of a brand video, right? So you are able to then target or do some refresh content, or you can even optimize it. You can even look at how do you optimize it based on language or based on different call to action. Or if I were to give you a promo code, would that help you to convert you into a success purchase? So it will allows you to do different types of purpose and objective as well, and also to help you to understand who are your audience, what drives them, or how many messages, or if let's say if I were to hard sell them and I just want to drive sales, will be a promo code help me to increase that? So you basically have a little bit insights of your audience or people who you have reached to. If let's say working mom or cloth diaper mom is a failed target audience to be selling a diapers, so once you have done your testings and all that and there's no conversion, then those kind of moms, you can just let it go. But if you see that there's a potential, like after serving one ad that I talk about the convenience of using diapers versus cloth diapers, you see the conversion that they purchase Pampers after that. So then you may also want to leverage these learnings and implement it into a lookalike audience, or people who may be looking at the convenience as a key drivers of their purchasing journey with you, right? So then when you use or leverage on the tech tools, it will no longer be, a lot of brands actually don't want to spend a lot of money when it comes to creative production, right? So with leveraging on tech tools, you can make the creative production actually very affordable. So a sample from Nike, if you can see here. So in order for them to sell the brand and they want to tap into different audience segments, you can, based on the interest and the locations, you can have different types of creatives. So if I were to sell Nike to a male 35 in New York that have an interest in basketball, I would want to then use an image with talent with the basketball in a picture, right? Or if I would sell a female who don't really do a lot of workouts, but mainly interested in walking or shopping or window shopping, then I would want to show them a product that is relevant, like sneakers, or for comfort walking and things like that. Or a female 35 in Paris who have an interest in gym, of course, then I would want my creatives to be in French. So with leveraging on creatives in our tech platforms, no longer as a designer, you need to create all this 4 different versions or media and say that, okay, I want this. And I serve these ads to everyone in Paris. Now, based on their settings on their Facebook, you can now reach them according to their profile settings. If I set my Facebook to be in Bahasa, then all the ads that are targeted to me will be in Bahasa. So because that is my language that I use. So it will drive more impact and it will be more relevant to the consumers. Okay, so with tech also you can do a lot of dynamic ads. And as a creative designers, if those of you who are in the designing field, you know like how you build scenes, you need to build variants, right? And you need to render every single video. But now with the tech tools, you can create the different scenes, and you can let your ops team or the media team to build a dynamic content based on what who they are targeting to. So all you need to do is build a master file, and then the ops will then build the relevancy. Like for example, the typographies of these locations can be manipulated when they set up on the ops site as well. So you don't have to build the variants. Are we behind time?
Yeah. I think you can continue. I put in the chat those people who have class, they can leave. So those who are still here, I guess they don't have class. Nice to see the like 20 people still here. So I think you can continue for a bit.
Okay, cool. So these are the tools that can help you, right? So then there's also the AI that comes into play, right? So artificial intelligence is just basically science to make machines smart, right? So example of social AI is something that you can find in your Alexa or your Siri, where it's being built to be able to help you to understand your behaviors, and over time it becomes smarter, right? So that is where in the advertising or in the marketing industry, AI is being used for content production. How do you produce content that are more relevant to your audience, and also to help you drive a better media performance? Okay, so a sample product that I'm building as well in ADA that is leveraging on artificial intelligence is in content production is that what it will do is it will analyze all the content data. It will have a formula behind it to analyze those data based on their objective and their target audience demographics. It will then be able to recommend the content format, the scoring or predict potential performance results, give you some insights into when is a good day or a good date to launch your campaign, or what kind of influencers that you can work with based on the influencers who have been talking about your brand, who have been advocating for a brand and have drive positive sentiments for a brand. So these are some of the AI things that you can do. Instead of you doing your own analysis, now you can leverage on AI to help you to do that as well, and how to scale up in terms of your creative personalization and automation as well. So I think the dying question would be, if there's AI, will you still be relevant, right? Like, will you be running out of a job, when you graduate? So I would say no, AI will not replace human. In fact, it will allows you to focus on your job better. It's just that with AI and automation, you're able to drive better performance. Instead of the ops persons spending 24 hours looking at the media performance in front of a computer, now you can just use the AI to then help to optimize the media performance. And at the same time, humans interaction is, of course, you need to continuously to train the AI to be smarter, so that you can you can have a better work-life balance, right? So, and also help you to create more effective content marketing. Instead of you in a creative, if you are doing copywriting and if you are doing creative content production, instead of you scratching your head trying to figure out what is the next content to do, now with AI and automation, you can get a little bit of a content recommendations, directions, or some trends that the AI has spotted that as a brand you can leverage on to create as well. Then, of course, for a brand purpose is to continuously build that relationship management. So instead of you manually sending out emails or customer service to all the clients and all your customers and all that, now you can leverage on AI and automation to help you to push that out. So instead of a bill statement, now how you can make a video that is personalized to your customers' bill payments, how to push them to make their payments, or how do you continuously engage them to watch a certain message, or to upsell and to cross-sell some of your products as well. So that's all. I would say that's the technology in advertising that I want to share today. So I'll still be here. I still have time. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, or you can connect with me via LinkedIn. Yeah. Any questions? Anyone have any questions to ask me?
Yeah, you can. Everybody, you've got questions, you can type in the chat or you can turn on your mic. Maybe we give them a minute to type their questions. Most people seem to prefer typing questions. So let's see if anything comes up.
Don't be shy. You can just unmute yourself and ask me. Let's make the session more interactive.
I just want to ask, like, when you start working, right? Does the company will ask you to like analyze data like just now that you showed us?
No. So when they hire you, for example, you'll be hired for a specific role, for example, right? Is there any role that you're interested in, Eamon?
Except for designing, I guess. I'm not so good at designing.
So, okay, just give me one role that you think that you will apply. When you see the ads on LinkedIn, you will apply. What role is that?
I'm not so sure yet though, to be honest.
Okay, so don't worry. Like, for example, for me, I think it's important for you to know that there's all these tech and tools and out there that are data that can help you to build your solutions to your clients, right? For example, if you were to join in as account manager or account exec, managing clients' expectations, right? You don't have to be in. If I'm gonna share based on my experience working in two agencies. One a small agency and one is a ATA, which is quite big, right? So when you first join, they won't expect you to know everything, but it's good also to have a little bit background in terms of how the expectations of a clients would be, how data can play a role in servicing your client. So as a brand, you can reach out to your teammates, who are more data centric. Like if you have a data science team in your company, reach out to them. If not, you yourself can always subscribe to all these tools out there. There's 30 days trials. It's always free. Do some insight, do some research. And when you talk to your client, that builds your credibility. And that is how you get noticed by your management, by your bosses, or by your clients. Then they will say, hey, I want to work with Aiman because he's so smart. He knows my category so well and he can give me so much insights, right? Or when you build, if you're a content producer, I want to be a content manager, you want to look into producing content. But if you have all this data, right, and then your creative or your client asks, why are you building me this content? What on earth do you want to build a breastfeeding video for me? But you say, hey, I have insights, I have data, people are searching for it, it's trending. That gives it gives your client a bit more of insights, and then they said, hey, this is a data driven kind of initiatives. It's not just someone who is just creating content out of nowhere, but you have done your research, you have done your analysis, and this is what you have produced for me. Yeah. Okay, so I would say for me, I come from a creative background and I'm now looking into innovation. Sometimes in life, your career progress may be very different. Like when I was like yourself as a student, I said I don't want to be in production, I don't want to be in TV, I don't want to be in broadcasting. But I landed my first job is in TV production, and I'm doing like shows, reality shows, Fear Factors, for Astro and all that, right? So you don't know where you're gonna land. But then if every job, you just have to have an open mind to learn all the traits there is. And don't just say that because I'm a content producer, I'm just going to produce content. But you also must have the knowledge or the initiatives, the keenness to learn other parts of what the your company is offering as well. So for example, I volunteered. I say, hey, I want to do client servicing. Hey, I want to do project management. Hey, I want to do this. I want to do that. Business development and all that. And that is how I learn. And that's how, instead of just experience in one single thing, but over the past 2 years, I've gained so much more. So I can be good at one thing, but I can also have experience in a lot of things. You can be either jack of all trades, or you can it can be anything, but you have to think where you want to progress in your life, and also when opportunities come along, just jump on it. Always stay curious.
Oh, so when you mentioned that you volunteer, does that mean that your boss will assign some tasks to you, or just ask you like, would you like to do this type of work? Or
okay, when you volunteer, opportunity may appear, right? For example, client say, hey, do you have any data insights? Let's say you are in client servicing, a client can ask you, then you can say, hey, let me try to help you on that. It can be on the spot, you can offer that service, right? Or it can be in your environment, and you heard about a project going on in another account or in another department. You think that you want to learn and you want to leverage. Sometimes you can just easy as, just raise up your hand, or even reach out to that colleague to offer that help, And sometimes it's not about just offering or help. It's also, you can also go online and do some research on your site to learn. Previously in a meeting, I heard about, for example, AI, artificial intelligence in media performance. You can go and research about it. At least you gain some knowledge out of it, not just about hands-on, but you have some little bit knowledge. So that's how, and when it comes or be relevant in your company, that's how you will take the opportunity and say, hey, I've read somewhere, I've learned about this, I heard about this, can I try? Then you build instead of building credibility to your client, you're already building that credibility to your boss, your management. And that's how you also gain some opportunities to work on all those projects as well.
oh, okay.
Okay. Any questions?
Any other questions from the floor?
Hi, so Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Yeah. So like earlier, you showed us an app, right? It's called Talkwalker. Is it available for individuals, or must you be in an organization or a company?
I think it would be very expensive for you to subscribe as an individual. Usually it'll go by organizations, or a lot of companies would also subscribe to it. But if you're not, what you can do is you can go to their website and see if you can sign up your personal account. If not, I think there are many other tools out there. Just go search for social listening and see what you can get out of it, and sign up for some free account that's available on the internet.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. No questions?
Any more questions? Well, everybody understands perfectly.
Just wondering, what is your main role right now?
I am head of creative innovation. So I'm looking at tech, edtech, martech, AI. So instead of how you do creative things traditionally, now I'm looking at digital transformation within the agency. How do I drive tech usage within the teams, and how to have teams working with each other to break the silos. Like I shared earlier, right? Like how agencies, you have different, like media agency, you have creative agency, you have research agencies, right? So when it comes to organizations like here in ADA, we also have our different teams. So how do we break that? Or how do you ensure that, whatever that you're doing help your clients to drive performance? Because now every dollars that you spend have to be relevant, have to drive certain piece of results. How do you do that? How do you leverage on data and AI to do that? So that's where that's what I'm doing right now in ADA, was to build that in-betweens of connecting the dots of how the technology can comes into play.
And is this role like different from what you studied in university?
Yeah, completely different. So a little bit of background. I actually graduated with com science. Then I went to intern in a factory, an IT factory, and I was like counting down my days of my internship. Like literally just checking my calendar every single day, and that's what I do. And I was so bored out of it, and I know that I really like designing. So then I started to do that, and I even throughout my whole internship, I was conducting designing workshops, to all my bosses and management in the company. So I was like, okay. So then I started to apply for scholarships, and I got a scholarship from Lim Kok Weng, and I was doing creative multimedia in Lim Kok Weng. So then that's how I progressed throughout. So not just a right brain, I have left and right, and now I started off as a designer, and now I am looking at innovation, which is a bit of tech, which I'm leveraging my first degree again. So, but the thing is, I can use both of what I have learned, and that's why I said, whatever that you've learned right now, your first job or your second job, it will just continue to push you through, to let you try new things. So you always have to be very open, always have to be ready to learn new things, because at the end of the day, you cannot be just good in designing. You have to think bigger picture, like how do you build brand sustainability for your clients? How do you, whatever that you do, how can you add further values into what you're doing? That is very important.
So basically, like when we go work, we're gonna learn new things on the spot, right?
Yes.
Oh,
you
okay.
You always have to be very curious, okay? So you cannot just say that, hey, I work, okay lah, my manager asked me to do designing, only I just do designing. You cannot just be stagnant. You always have to stay curious. You say, okay, how do I be better, or how do I grow, or how do you continuously grow? You need to have that growth mindset in you to push. If not, you will just, if some company doesn't give you a learning platform opportunity, you definitely will stagnant there already, right? You will not move. So you need to always push yourself to go further or improve further. Like, how do I grow another step? How do I continuously progress? Yeah. So if you, let's say you start as a designer, and say, okay, my next aim is to become a senior designer. Then I want to become an art director. Then I want to become a creative director, right? So how do I progress? What do I need to do to help me to grow in my career path? You always have to be ready to progress, not just because I've reached let's say your aim is to be an art director. So once you reach an art director and you're just like, okay, accomplished, that's my life mission, and I'm done, but you always have to ask yourself, what's next? And sometimes it's not just about being in the creative line, it can be something else. Like I myself, I always wanted to be an art director, and that's about it, right? So who knows, I end up starting a business for an agency. Now I'm looking at tech side. There's so much more in life, and now I'm looking at lecturing. So life is just so interesting sometimes.
Was it difficult when you start to learn about technology, or?
No, you just have to be curious, really. Curiosity will always be key. For me, it's always staying curious. Sometimes I do not need to know about it. I just need to Google, and I just need to read articles. You also spend time to be curious. Like, I don't know about media. I don't come from a media background, right? But what I can do, I can go on Google. I can take on Google classes. I can just sign up for workshops. I can just join some webinars online, and I can learn the basics of media performance already. I don't need to be hands-on to say that, how to do a CPC, how to do an awareness campaign. I don't need to do that. That my colleagues can do it, but I need to know the basics of how it works, right? How it's relevant in the industry. So that's what I did. I just went Google, watch a lot of videos, read a lot of content online, spend time, be dedicated to it, stay focused, and that's also important. And always be curious. Even when it comes to content curation, you always have to be curious or creative. When you think of an idea, you always have to say, ask yourself a lot of questions. Why people like that? Or zoom down to who you're targeting, break them, just go through all the noises out there, just to figure out certain things that will help you to come up with a great idea also.
I wanted to ask.
Hi, Natasha.
Hi. Do they, like, if you said after you graduate, right? Do they pay you according to the projects you do, or it's more like you're working and then like they pay you?
Good question. Pay is always the key, right? Okay. Let me tell you, when I first joined the broadcasting, I was promised quite a high pay, right? like, hey, you're double degree, and I have a creative director from BBC who was Mat Saleh, right? So who is a Westerner. I said, okay, with your double degree, you can get 4K, you know. And when I joined the company, Astro, I was like, no, that's not my policy in a Malaysia company. Starting pay, industry standard, you are 2.8, right? So I got cheated in that company, it's fine. But the thing is, again, it's not about the salary, it's about the experience that you can get out of it. So I went on, continued the job. Then I know my passion is always in agency. I took a pay cut to join a small boutique agency. And again, I said 2.8 is not very high, right? But because I see that small agency has very good client portfolios. They have international brands and they are doing something that is super advanced at time when social media was just starting, right? They were already doing social media strategy and planning. And I thought, hey, this is what I want to do. I don't mind taking a pay cut because I know I'm going to learn, and I have the opportunity to work with a lot of brands that I personally loved. So that's how I took the decisions. Is yes, money is important, but you need to know what is your limit as well and what outcomes that you can get out of it. So you can say, okay, it's low pay, but can you sustain yourself? Can it help you to pay for your rent, for all your things that you need? And at the same time, what is the growth trajectory of growth that it can help you to gain out of it at the end of the day? So give yourself time, like 1 year. I will do this job. This is the pay I'm going to get. I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to change another job to get higher pay based on my experience, because you have gained valuable experience from that job, although it's low pay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Anything else?
Yep. And the rest, or no questions?
So let's say if we want to like start an advertising firm, right? Like what should we have in mind already before starting it?
I think you need a lot of experience before you start it. Yeah, I mean it's always good to say, hey, it's always good to be a boss, to have the courage to start something new yourself. But I think you need to spend at least 1 good year, looking into working with other people to learn the traits of the business, right? So if you have no experience, you don't know what the clients look for. So for example, if I would say, hey, can you give me a data strategy, or can you give me business insights? Would you know if you have not learned it previously in your job? So I would say before you start your own business, good goals to have, but gain some experience first, go and work, either in multiple agencies to learn the traits of it, or even to work in a small agency so you can learn very closely, work very closely with the founders, where you can learn from them, they can guide you and all that. Then after that, use your experience, use what you have learned to kickstart your own company. If not, I tell you, and this is a very fast moving industry. If you want to start your own advertising firm, you need to have all the tools as well, right? Like all the tools that I have shared, and it's not cheap, right? So before you use it, you also need to know how to use it, right? Like what are the use cases? Why do I need these tools? Why does the brand need it? And then again, I said, do I need social listening? Sometimes small clients don't even need social listening, right? They only need social analytics. And social analytics can start even like $99 for a brand. Or you can even just leverage on Facebook Insights for analytics already. You don't even need all these tools. All those tools will just make your life easier and to be able to do comparative analysis, yes, right? But then, it's all about when and what you need for that one particular client. And by gaining some experience from other agencies, you yourself will know when you are approaching certain projects and clients and all that, what is your approach? What is your solution? Instead of, go in Google and scratch and try, test and trial, then again, you will then end up spending more money, wasting all your money instead of just, already know what you need to do. Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations on what kind of firm like I should be looking into to gain those experiences?
What kind of, sorry?
Like what?
What agencies
Yeah,
should
what
he?
agency? Yeah.
Okay. Then you have to ask yourself what kind of business that you want to build. What kind of, let's say you're looking at digital agency, right? So if as a digital agency, where is your key focus? Do you want to be a primary media driven digital agency, or you want to be a creative digital agency, which is mainly on all those social media, social content and all that? Then you look into digital agency that is specializing in social content. I'm sure you can just Google, you can go and read the company websites, their LinkedIn profiles. You can get a lot of credentials, how many awards that they have won, what awards have they won. You can look into that. So if you're looking at, let's say, an integrated, like for example, everything from data to digital to media and all that, then look at companies. I'm not going to recommend like ADA, right? Like we do everything. So go and do a bit of research and see what are the jobs that are available. Then, then see where you can fit in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Wait, I just want to add something to Daniel's question, because you were saying like if you want to start your own agency, your own firm. The other thing besides what Miss Eileen has said, to gain experience, just to know like, oh, how do the tools work? What experience do you need? I think especially with starting your own agency, the other thing you need to learn is people management, because you can't learn that on your own, and it's I think one of the extremely difficult ones if you're especially trying to handle creatives who are stereotypically, but not everybody's like this. You imagine the very moody kind, and then what if you have somebody who is very cooperative and another person who is super uncooperative? And if you are the boss, it's your problem. Your staff will come to you and be like, boss, I don't like this person. So that's also going to be a very important part of owning your own company, which I guess if you go and work in various sizes of agencies, small ones, big ones, you'll also see, okay, if we don't like each other, what does the boss do? Or what should you do yourself if you don't like the person you're working with, or if the client is very uncooperative? So people management, I think if you are a boss, I'm sure Miss Eileen, now that she's the head of like a department, she'll also be like, people management, it's probably difficult. And that you can only get through experience.
People management, not just within your team, it can be with client as well. How do you manage client expectations? That can be an external people management skill. Internally, as a leader, this is something that I'm learning every day. In fact, I keep on telling people, sometimes I say, hey, you're high up, you have no stress. But sometimes being high up there as a head of department, you will have more stress. Trust me, because at the end of the day, I am responsible of their career growth. I'm responsible when they don't perform, because if they don't perform, they're not getting their increments, they're not getting their promotions and all that. And that I put myself as a responsible person in charge of those things for them as well. Yeah. So, and sometimes if they now working from home, how do you manage their performance? How do you ensure that they're actually working and not just sleeping on the couch, right? And then they tell me they're busy when they have emergency at home. Do they really have that emergency? Sometimes you have to build that trust in them as well. So these are all skills. It's not IQ, it's EQ. So you need to learn that as well, and it can be trained and it can be learned over time.
Okay, thank you for the.
Do you track their tweets using the app just now, like to manage like what are they doing at home?
I say I give my team. I trust my team, and I'm not a tiger mom, I would say. I told my team already. I said I don't expect you to report to me daily. I like some bosses have daily stand-up meetings and all that. I said I don't want to do that. You come to me when you have problems. I'll do weekly. If I give you a task, I don't care whether you are in front of a computer at 9 a.m. or not, or you switch off by 5. I really don't care. As long as you finish your job according to the time I gave you, according to the time that we have discussed, I'm fine. So if I give you a job and say, okay, it has to be done in 24 hours. So if you use 2 hours to do it and then you send it to me, fine, you can have the day off.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the whole working from home actually sets a little bit of different expectations as well. Some have families at home, they have to juggle between kids and all that. I have to also be understanding with that as well. So I don't expect my colleagues who have kids to be replying my message on the spot. I also have to give them some benefit of the doubt and some time to reply. Then I have to manage my client and say, hey, please give me like, an hour, I can get back to you instead of 5 minutes. When you can do it at work in office, you can just walk over to your table and ask for the answer. Now I have to give a bit more time to wait for them to, reply my message and all that. So yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah. Any other questions? It's already 4:30. I don't think we should do the breakout room thing. I'm sure everybody's exhausted from sitting in front of the computer since 2 o'clock. Those who are in my class. So yeah, just any other questions for Miss Elaine while she's still here about what she talked about, or you can ask about your future career like Ivan and Daniel. Since she's here, she can lend you her experience.
Probably I just want to ask, like, how's the working environment is like? Is it in an advertising agency, is it a bit flexible, or is it like very serious and where you sit at the desk 8 hours straight? Just wondering.
If I want to be very true to you, right? Like advertising is not a 9 to 6 kind of job. It will requires a lot of commitments and long hours, right? So don't expect to come in and goyang kaki and expect that you're gonna earn a lot of money out of it at the end of the day. So it's gonna be a lot of work. And I said there's so many possibilities, and every clients will have different expectations, different brand story to tell, different kinds of execution. So you will not, and the thing is, the good thing is your life will not be boring, right? You will get to deal with a lot of industry. Like why I particularly love advertising is because I get to split my minds as well. Sometimes I work on a telco client. Sometimes I work on a insurance clients, or sometimes I can get work with very fun clients like in the fashion industry, like Timberland and Gap and all that. So I get to have different. I can say, okay, this is my favorite. Then this is where I spend a lot of my time, or where I distress, I do their work, or then I all that. So it's a lot of job, and it's long hours lah. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, hey, you should join advertising. But if you want to join advertising, be prepared for long hours. Be prepared that that your career growth is going to be quite, grow in very different ways. Especially now you have media, you have digital, you have social media, you have media performance. You have like data. So you can be account manager one day, and then you can become a data consultant another day. That's how all the possibilities that you can get. But advertising, I'd say, will give you a little bit insights into the industry that you want. So you can say, I can join agency. I work with a telco. Then if you love telco so much, then you may want to join the client side of the business. Then you become brand manager, or you can become a tech innovator, or you can even do your own startup that focus on apps that enhances some that has to do with the telco industry. It just gives you a bit more experience as your first startup career lah.
And are the works like from different clients, are they happening at the same time, or is it like one by one?
It really depends on your account, or how your job or your team is being set up, right? So if you're hired to be 100% dedicated to one account, then you are only focused on one account. If you're dedicated to be 50-50 for 2 accounts, then you'll be juggling 2 accounts at one time. So for example, I myself, when I first started, it's just 1 account. And over time, because I volunteered, or I've decided to, I can juggle, that's when I get more jobs in. Like I used to be heading the Malaysia Creative Services, right? I only focus on clients in Malaysia. But my other job, or my secondary job, was to help other countries to kickstart their creative business as well. So I have to do what is in Malaysia, but at the same time, I have to help other countries as well. Then now in a regional position, I also have to look at the progress in each of the countries. So sometimes I cannot do everything at one go. I cannot focus on 9 markets at the same time, right? So what I will do is I will say, okay, today I'm going to focus on Malaysia. Tomorrow I'm going to focus on Thailand. Or I can go step by step, and I can speak to my boss and say, hey, if I want to do digital transformation in each market, my go-to plan is I'm going to focus 2 weeks. I work with the team there. I go in, spend my time there, teach them, train them, and then I moved up. So you always will have a plan, and always communicate with your superiors, your managers, and get your seniors to guide you as well. Sometimes when you're new, you will not know how to move around, or you do not know how to juggle with your work, because I would say every company is different, right? Every courses that you take can be also different, right? So you need to talk or to ask someone, or to get a mentor to guide you in what you need to do. So yeah. But I can say you will not be fully 100% focused on one job. You will be definitely multitasking. That is what agency is all about. And that's what makes it very fun.
Okay. Last call for questions. Any more? We'll take one more.
Okay. I
Joyce,
have
go ahead.
one. So, with all the pandemic going on and you're being in the advertising industry, is there any challenges that you're facing or any changes that you're facing besides internally, like external with clients and all that?
Definitely, like we used to have I can share one experience, right? Like we used to have workshops, like we can conduct workshops, or we can do with client face to face. We can share, or we can pitch to them face to face, and we can see their body language to know whether they like the ideas or not. But now with all this, everything that's going on, that's why I want you all to switch on your camera, so I can have a better interaction, so I can see your face and all that. It's always a challenge. Sometimes, client just won't switch on their camera, and then you'll be just talking to a black screen, or to your presentation slides, and you don't know what's going on. So that's the challenging bit, right? So, but for us, I think what we do is we're trying to adapt to it and see how to leverage on tools as well. So, like for example, breakout rooms can be one, or it can be a tools that we can collaborate on, when we build mind maps, for example, when we do brainstorming workshops with our clients, how do we want to position your brand? Who are we going to target? We have tools that can help us to collaborate together, like, create a bubble and everyone start posting their sticky notes to it, that kind of stuff. And it's live. So, at the same time, try to make it more interactive. And I'm sure with all the tech tools out there, there's always a way, but definitely all of us we miss a lot of human interactions lah. Like I myself, I miss being in the office, because at home I have no one to bounce my ideas with. That was a challenging bit, right? Then I have to call up a colleague, and I have to say, hey, can you spend 5 minutes? And the thing is, one way to go about doing this is to build a team, a support team, not just your personal support system at home, but also at work. So you need to build your ally as well, right? So you need to say, okay, if I have this idea, I want to implement it in the market. I want to get the market insights. I need to know who I can speak to in the market, tell them, build the relationship, continuously build the relationship. That is very important. That's how you get some feedback, or some interactions that you may not get if you're doing it all alone. Okay.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
All right, so I think they're very good questions. Thank you for the questions. They were very interesting ones, also for me to hear from Miss Eileen, her answers on these topics. So we will end here. Thank you so much, Eileen, for sparing your time. It's like almost 2 hours. I know we had to shift it back because of your meeting, but yeah, thank you so much for giving us your time, for explaining and showing us how you all do your social listening, for talking a bit about what you do, and for answering all their questions. Okay,
welcome. So if you want to connect, you can always connect with me via LinkedIn, okay? Okay, stay safe, everyone. Take care.
Yeah. So bye everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for asking questions and for turning in your cameras, the few of you. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
bye all.
Bye.